This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
I didn't see anything open day or Sunday.
Yeah, but that's the way it is sometimes.
No.
You just gotta put the time in.
Welcome to the Kitchen Conversations. At the Foul Weather Podcast, we truly believe that the kitchen is a perfect place for sharing information, spending time with family and friends, and genuinely bullshitting about life, ducks, the science of duck migration, duck conservation, and duck hunting itself. At either home or camp, the kitchen is a place to celebrate the day and come together to learn from each other, but also simply enjoy life. The Foul Weather Podcast aims to use the Kitchen Conversations as a way to bring duck science with duck science people directly to you in raw form. But we also aim to simply talk with duck people across duck country as well. Very often you will notice that duck science people are also duck people from across duck country. Think about that for a second. Most of the people that work really hard to conserve ducks and duck habitat are also duck hunters from across duck country, USA. So before you vilify all the state and federales and nonprofit people out there that are working for the ducks, just take a step back and realize they might not always be making the best decisions, but they're using the best information available, and we're all in this together. So let's not treat folks like enemies. Let's sit down in their kitchens, have great conversations, have some great food, some great drink, and bullshit. Let's bullshit about some ducks. Please understand that as your host of the Foul Weather Podcast, I'm Dr. Mike, as the host of the Foul Weather Podcast, that I also work full-time as a professor at the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry. Right, longest university name possible. So we typically go by ESF for Environmental Science and Forestry. We're actually the oldest, a little info here, a little sidebar. We're actually the oldest wildlife and forestry program, among the oldest wildlife and forestry programs in the U.S., and the only university directly associated with Teddy Roosevelt, right? Teddy was a pioneer in wildlife conservation in this country. We actually have the Roosevelt Wildlife Station at ESF, the only named entity associated with Teddy Roosevelt's name in existence, right? Among my capacities at ESF, I'm also the Roosevelt Waterfowl Ecologist in Residence. It's a title that I really work hard to kind of proudly uphold. Anyhow, I have other hats. So the Foul Weather Podcast is certainly a wonderful addition to a diverse portfolio, but maybe we can't run Kitchen Conversation episodes at completely regular intervals, kind of like other podcasts, right? That said, we're going to run the Kitchen Conversations and the upcoming In the Marsh series as kind of irregular additions to our already regular kind of weekly episodes during duck season. After January, when we're kind of done with duck season migration stuff, we're going to continue to sprinkle in kind of Kitchen Conversations episodes in our In the Marsh series with duck people throughout duck country. Sprinkle them in throughout the off season. So welcome to the inaugural episode of the Kitchen Conversations. We hope it hits home for you and you find it entertaining and informative. In the coming weeks, the Foul Weather Podcast team is going to be traveling across the country in pursuit of ducks and really, I'd say more so visiting with friends and sitting in their kitchens and having that chat, you know, eating some good food, cooking up some duck, cooking up other local stuff, having a few drinks, and we're going to spend some time with friends in the Boot Heel of Missouri, down in Mississippi, and then on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Those trips and those recordings are eventually going to make their way into the Kitchen Conversations as well as into the In the Marsh series. So thank you for your support of the Foul Weather Podcast and all that we do to bring duck people from throughout duck country to your truck, your computer, your phone, your headset. Our aim is to, entertain and inform. Man, the Foul Weather Podcast produces the only duck migration forecast available. May your skies be filled and shoot straight, my friends. Thanks for joining us on the Kitchen Conversations. This evening in the kitchen, in the home office in Jack's Reef, we're with Matt Frackleton, sometimes known as Cabbage. We'll get to that later. We also have Mike Bard, who has completed the Waterfowl Grand Slam, or so he thought. I guess there's some new duck that got named, Mike.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
questioning my status.
These they go by Frack and Bard, affectionately by Frack and Bard. My experience suggests that Frack's a way better duck hunter than Bard.
Yeah,
I kind of want to have
correct.
that. I want to have that like chess match here. I'm actually just kidding. I think both of you guys are. The truth is, locally, you're about as good as it gets for finding and killing ducks. And what I want to say is, don't worry, we're not going to give away your secrets here.
Good.
Unless you give them just to me, because you guys obviously have like secret stuff. So it just happens both these guys live about 5 miles from the home office in Jack's Reef. So we're going to start with the food stuff, though. They came over tonight. I cooked that shirky cut with blue corn rub and did some venison backstrap fresh off the grill. Some thoughts, guys?
Really?
Matt?
Excellent. I don't want to stop eating to talk, but really good.
Yeah.
Highly underestimated Frack's stomach.
Yeah, the dude can eat, not just cabbage. I don't even know what cabbage is. I'm just getting there.
That's where it came from, actually. It's from competitive eating. So in college, I dabbled in competitive eating, and that's how you train. When you wake up, you eat a head of raw cabbage, and then you drink a gallon of water, because that raw cabbage will expand in your stomach. So that's how you train your stomach to expand and be able to crush hot dogs or pies or lobsters or whatever gastronomic feat you're trying to win.
So have you ever like just brought cabbage along for like to?
Yeah, that's how all the guys in Long Island call me Cabbage, because we were out in the boat, and I'm like, I can't go 3 or 4 hours without eating, so I would just have heads of cabbage and raw hot dogs.
You ate cabbage in the duck boat on Long Island.
Like an apple. He brings it, he eats it like an apple.
Yeah.
Like you would eat an apple. He just pulls it out and eats it like the head of cabbage raw.
Good, it keeps you going. Yeah, it expands in your stomach, so it keeps you full. So when you're like sitting there and nothing's flying,
Yeah.
you're like, how am I going to get through these next 2
So
hours?
like at night, like after Thanksgiving, when I eat a ton of food and I'm like, you know how it is, you like your stomach expands and then you wake up in the middle of the night for some unknown reason you're hungry. So I should just come downstairs and grab a head of cabbage and eat it, probably.
Yeah, that's a good way to expand your stomach so you can eat more.
But
Pretty much every meal is like a personal challenge.
don't you have like that thing that brassicas, like cabbage is a brassica, like Brussels sprouts and broccoli? Doesn't it hate your body and make you just like gas the house out?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Or the
that's
duck
Bree,
boat?
That's Bree's problem, not mine, or Bard's problem. Yeah.
Oh my
He
god.
factors the wind into our setup for more than one reason.
Straight.
So we got to the cabbage quicker than I thought we were going to as a discussion, but so pickled duck hearts and gizzards.
Good, solid.
Bard, Bard's not going to try him. He's just.
I don't want to eat a gizzard. I don't know if I'm afraid, but I'll eat the hearts. But
Oh well, we got it. We got there right there. You're good. There's a heart for you. That's a goose heart.
Oh, it is.
It's pretty big. It might be a mallard because a lot of those were actually like wood duck hearts.
The taste is really good. The texture is a little off for me, but it's not bad.
You could live with it. You
Yeah.
could sustain on it.
Yeah.
When we get stuck on
It's kind of chewy.
when we get stuck on the tide and are stranded for indeterminate time.
You want to hear a cabbage story?
Go.
Speaking about being stranded, wasn't when we were stranded, but Long Island. We do go to Long Island. It's fun. We have some friends there. We're hunting. And Mr. Cabbage, you asked about the gas and whatnot. It definitely keeps things moving. He can't also go through a whole hunt without having to eliminate.
You're allowed to say take a shit.
Yeah.
We do put the little E thing on
Yeah,
this
so-
podcast. You're good.
He can't make it through a hunt usually without having to take a shit. And the boat was a long ways away. So there was a dead seagull in the marsh who was utilized to
Just the wing. Not you don't make it sound like this.
Someone-
It wasn't a dead seagull. There was a chunk of a wing, and it's like you're using Spartina, ribbed muscles,
I'm not
or a
using
wing.
anything.
Don't you just cut off a piece of your T-shirt?
I wasn't sacrificing my Bucky shirt.
I
It's
had
hard
a-
to come by.
in the boat, which is 75 yards down the shore.
Oh, way more than that. It was. I was on walkabout.
Regardless, there's a whole roll of toilet paper in a Ziploc bag, nice, ready to go, and he's
A dead seagull wing.
dead seagull winging it.
We might have to back out of this one.
It didn't take long. We're
did
4 minutes in, and Schumer's rethinking having us over.
I'm rethinking this all.
I really wanted to make a splash with this podcast, so I invited you two idiots over here.
That's the wrong splash.
No, but
It's a bad splash.
Honestly, guys, this is what it's about. It's like, the fun conversations in the kitchen. And we literally live like less than 5 miles from each other, all of us. I could walk to Bard's place on a straight line and, it goes through a little bit of a swamp, but I could get there. But we don't do these things enough. We're just all busy. We run into each other in the marsh all the time. You guys hunt together a lot. But this is, the kind of stuff that I think really we all should probably do more. Like I always get what I've started to do, it's like QDMA stuff. I've started to think about talking to the guys that are in the marsh more rather than treat them like my enemy that I'm competing with. Right? Like the days that you and I were, and we're not going to give any secrets away because we did well the days we were in the marsh together in different spots. But the communication actually helps rather than hinders you, right? So I don't know. Speak to that a little bit about people you talk to in the marsh, and then those that you don't, and the good stuff, the good and the bad about that public hunting stuff around here.
He talks to people. I don't usually talk to people. It's usually if someone initiates a conversation with me, I will have a conversation, but I'm very guarded. He has wild conversations with people at every boat launch we go to or anywhere we go.
Do you give shit away though, or
No,
do you
it's
just
No.
Right.
He instantly will be like, dude, we're killing massive amounts. We're in a marsh. And then he'll be like, dude, we smoked the mergs today. And you're like, dude, there's no mergs in 25 miles of here, but he'll be just stack them up. You guys hunt mergs? You should. It's all.
He's been pitching that to me though too, so he's blowing the same smoke at me.
But
about shooting merg.
And then usually people start giving him strange looks and want to get away from him, but then he'll just keep chirping and chirping and chirping, and they can't get away. And
That's the defense strategy.
Yeah.
You don't want to actually give away, not that I want to give away emerging secrets, but
no, but it is hilarious. I like to watch it, but I don't like to interact with it. There have been some recent though. When we have been in the marsh and there is obviously limited area, there if anyone scouted, there's not a ton of ducks this year.
Right.
And so if you did any homework at all, you know where to go, and everybody's going to go within a small area. So It is good to have those conversations. There's a handful of those guys like yourself and a couple other guys that we've seen a number of times there that do have those quick conversations in the morning and be like, hey, we're going to go here. Okay, we'll go 200 yards down or, okay, you guys are going to go there today. We're going to try to get back further or whatever. And those are helpful, I think. But
I literally showed up and pushed in the other day, and I think I texted you guys. I think I'm 75 yards from this other guy that I talked to. And he's like, oh no, you're far enough. And I can hear them talking. And I'm like, no. And so I knew I had a good spot, so it wasn't like I was going to abandon it right away. I shot a couple ducks and then moved another 75 yards to at least be 150 or so from them. But here's a funny one. At that same marsh we're talking about, we're not going to talk about which one it is. A few years ago, my wife Sarah and I were there, and I do the talk to people because you're all going in, and you can either all charge in or you can talk to each other. And this dude pulls up, puts his truck, what he thinks is in park, and I talked to him real quick, at the door, and he's like, and he doesn't want to talk to me, obviously. He wants to just rush into the marsh ahead of us, even though we were already there before him at the launch, and he forgets to put his truck in park. and he's got it like backed up where he can put his canoe in. And he gets out, he steps out of the vehicle after talking to me, and it's just like, it's in neutral or whatever, or it's in drive, but it's on a steep hill, and it just starts rolling backwards. And he almost got ran over, but he like at the last minute falling out of his truck, like put his foot on the brake and like crawled himself back in. And I was like, everybody there was like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But he continued to proceed to rush into the marsh, despite that he almost just killed himself. Or if he fell out of the vehicle, his truck still would have ended up in the swamp. Yeah. So
well, we laugh about it because like we've hunted a lot of the same areas for years, but we didn't start hanging out till I moved over here. And it's one of those things where like I'm sure we've run into each other at the boat launch before, and you're like, "Oh, this asshole's a," like, right. I mean, you're like, "Screw you," you don't talk with them. Then you end up actually meeting the person, and they're pretty cool, and you end up hanging out. Next thing you know, you're buddies, you're hunting all the time. Exactly. But when you see each other in the dark at dark 30 in the launch, you're like, "This guy's a prick," And so
you treat everybody like that until proven otherwise. Yeah.
But I think that's part of like I think we're lucky in New York that we have a lot of good we have a lot of public access. You can hunt a lot of places, but there's not always a lot of places where there's ducks or where there's a lot of opportunity to get away from people and still have ducks. Right. There's not a whole lot of secrets. So you end up kind of getting crowded into, to Mike's point, areas that have birds or areas that you can hunt.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things that's happening, I'm going to jump on this now. Mm-hmm. This wasn't even in my notes. This is totally organic, just for listeners. Like, I'm not, like, I have some stuff to hit on here. Like, you guys being the Merg squad, and you have a belt buckle involved and things like that. We'll get there.
There's a championship belt.
But more and more in New York, we've got like Pennsylvania and Jersey people showing up. And it is getting a lot, and it's getting crowded, but it's not like we have that good of duck hunting. It's just that the birds aren't getting to them. So, like, the locals, like you, Frack, and Bard, like, I'm not going to tell people, like, hey, you should go here, you should go there, because it is going to get crowded, and it's not like it's that good. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's still the Atlantic Flyway. It's not the Mississippi Flyway. In Missouri, the Missouri conservation areas that are public, they hunt them every single day till noon. Every day. And they kill like 3 ducks per hunter because they're like super well-managed places. We just don't have that, right? Like, kind of follow up. I mean, just validate my comment, I think, is what I'm saying. Because I think we all feel that way.
I mean, that I agree with 100%. And we actually had this conversation when we hunted the other day together. There was a time 10 years ago where anybody could show up on any Finger Lake, throw out 2-3 dozen decoys, didn't matter the species. And if it was late season, everyone would kill their 2 redheads, probably get a few mallards, maybe, shoot an assortment of other divers. And because we were talking, because I don't have a lot of birds mounted, I don't have a redhead mounted, because growing up, I was always like, we always get these. I'll just get one, like when I'm older, I want to mount all these other birds first. And the last couple seasons, it's been a challenge to shoot a handful of them in a season versus there's seasons when we shot hundreds of them, but with 5-6 guys going every day. But over the course of the later part of the season, we'd kill hundreds of redheads. And now it's like, if you get a day where 3 of you go out and you shoot your 6, you're like, this is awesome. That like we didn't.
And
they're
usually not like really nice mature birds. Oh, no. You're shooting ratty first year birds.
Yeah. We were way too excited. A couple weeks back, we went out and 3 of us shot 6 redheads, our bluebills, and you would have thought like we won the lottery. And one of the redheads we shot was like that beautiful apple head, like just big owl head. And we're like, holy shit, it's been like 2 years since I've seen one of these this good. Like, it was just, and I'm like, dude, we shot, like, it was like such a change, because we also admitted to each other, like, I think a couple, like, just recently that, again, even 6-7 years ago, neither of us would have shot a merg or a bufflehead, or even a golden eye, because there was so many. You were just you had a really good chance every time out to shoot 4 to 6 ducks that were edible, good ducks to eat.
Right.
And now between bird short stopping, climate change, season changes, population changes.
So let me stop you. That's my question. Is it like the pressure? Because we were talking about people coming up and more people. Is it the pressure? Is it a change in climate? Do you think birds are short stopped? Because we are the Foul Weather Podcast, right? So we're gonna get to the weather thing here. What do you think it? What do you think it is? You guys are probably out there on the water more than anyone I know in our part of the world. So what is it?
All of the above?
Yeah, I think there's more pressure, and I think the season change. This is the 5th year of that new season in New York, and it kind of moved. There's much less of a split, so it pretty much used to be all of December was off, and then it reopened right after Christmas and went for a couple weeks into January. So you typically had colder weather. You typically had birds concentrated on open water. And you also had that split for them to kind of get here, get used to coming to shore and just not be pressured. Now our season, there's much less of a break. And so we're hunting the same birds that have been here and that have been shot for the last month or two. And it's just, at least in terms of the divers, when we're talking about redheads, they just don't come to shore anymore. They do, but rarely. There's just way more pressure. There's a lot more layouts than there used to be.
But I'm traditionally a layout bow hunter. That's my jam. And they're just not moving. They sit. And they, in the morning, you go out to hunt, whether it's on a shore or you're going out to set up a layout boat spread. There's days where you'll run over birds that have come in to feed at night. And, you're going out, and you're like, holy cow, there's birds. And, they're trying to feed, and you're, trying to avoid.
You think they're night feeding them?
Yeah, running them over. So then you get out there, and you kind of you watch them recede on those full moon nights or nights where you can see, you can watch them go back out to the middle. Come shooting time, the only way they're moving, man, is if someone's bumping them or just something random happens. I love perch fishermen. Dude, more perch fishermen than
So real quick for listeners, just to catch up a little bit, there's a few things that have gone on the Finger Lakes. Is that in general? It's been some of them. I'm not going to give away which ones, but there's been a good redhead and diver shoot over the years. But the season used to, in New York, run in, it used to be closed through December and then opened at, the Saturday after Christmas or something like that, and then run for 15 days. So we'd have 45 days on the front end, then 15 on the back end. And so that really, birds piled up. They did show up throughout December. They do show up during that period, but then they were extremely shootable during that period, and we've moved that back to, I think, accommodate the marsh hunters to a large degree from our survey, to try to accommodate all of the hunters in New York. I'm not going to argue about that content right now, but then Mike's comment of these birds are now feeding at night might be a change in behavior, but also if it's warmer, even when you go into January, it's been warmer over the years. There's fewer cold snaps. And so if these birds can meet their energy requirements at night, they change behavior a little bit, and then it's just not cold enough during the day to make them to fly. Right. You're just not going to kill them because it's a giant lake and it's really long and they got anywhere to go. Is that kind of summarize what you guys
the lakes
saying?
Are so close together here. They can hop lakes. There's food at all the lakes. They're all still good. And it's just, I think a lot of birds are still on the north side of Ontario or even further up. They're just, like you said, it's not, it's a combination of things. We got this funky different season coupled with it's been really warm the last 4 years, and then you mix in this whole, hey, let's put the limit at 2 mallards. So you do that, and guys are like, well, I don't want to go out just to try to shoot 2 mallards. Let's try these sea duck things, that they're all because sea ducks are relatively new if we're thinking big picture to New York. When I was younger, you never saw a scoter or an old squaw in New York, but now they're all over the place. They come and eat our zebra mussels that we have, and cool, they're fun. So, but with the reduction in the mallards and you just can't shoot good divers. Let's go beat the crap out of these sea ducks. And now, this year, they've lowered the limit on those. They've been, because I think they're getting pounded. And so, like, it's just, we take one, we're just trading evil things, right? Like, you know, like, hey, we're going to go pound the crap out of this
here
species.
versus pressure.
Right. Because,
So,
like, everyone wants to play the game. You want to keep changing the rules, but we're going to keep playing the game and take what we can get. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just waterfowler mentality in general is they're really resourceful hunters.
Well, I think managers do not think about those things, right? Like, if you don't have this, then you're going to shoot this. So actually,
I bought the boat, I bought the decoys.
Right?
I'm going, man.
Yeah.
Right. Like when the mallard limit went to 2, I'm pretty sure widgeon, like on years when, like we have times when there's a ton of widgeon in our marshes locally, widgeon got fucking pounded.
Everything else, everything did.
Everything else did. Because if you didn't, I mean, everybody wants to shoot 4 green. I mean, not everybody. I'm kind of a mallard purist at heart, unfortunately. I'll admit it. Because I just look, you're eating them right now. You're eating them right now off the grill. They're great eating. And I'm a duck eater, right? So if I can make an animal that I like to pursue into food, I'm going to. So I tend to be like a food type hunter. But when I could only shoot 2 mallards, my God, the marsh was still full of widgeon, and I just shot 4 widgeon, right? Yep. So I think widgeon are not doing, like, if you look at their population, I don't know if you guys have looked at that, but like that's not fantastic. So
definitely, like, while we're in the marsh this year, I've noticed there was less widgeon than we've seen. You know, I think it's dwindled like over the last couple of years, like just visibility, like being out there.
They come and go. I think this year we were really dry, and so we didn't have like the big. We didn't have enough like big, very inundated pools with. It's submerged aquatic vegetation. It's technically called submerged aquatic vegetation. My students a few years ago forgot what it was called and called it wet lettuce. I like the term wet lettuce. So I've moved from SAV or submerged aquatic vegetation to wet lettuce. But widgeon really like wet
Sounds
lettuce.
Like a good nickname.
So.
Yeah.
Wet lettuce.
This is a new band name.
Yeah.
One other thing,
or if you eat a lot of cabbage and you spend time in wet lettuce, you could be called wet lettuce, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing with our seasons is there's a lot more overlap now. So I think that does concentrate pressure because, like, I used to jump from southeastern zone, northern zone, southeastern zone, western zone. Now those are done. So if you're a duck hunter, you're hunting western zone because it's all that's open. And then once ours opens, everybody's going to Long Island because that's all that's open. So I think it's added a lot of extra pressure because people aren't staying home.
Going elsewhere.
They're going elsewhere. It's like if the season's open, but the season's only open in one zone, everybody's going to that zone.
Yeah. I really think the poor Brant have taken a beating the last few years because of that. Mm-hmm. Again, waterfowlers being waterfowlers, they want to go, right? Like there's a core group of hardcore waterfowlers that just want to go. Good, bad, whatever, they're going.
Yeah.
And like you cut that season off, they haven't got their fill yet. So, we could go to this place on Long Island. We can drive there. We'll figure it out when we get there. And Brant, I love to watch them decoy, and they're very social animals. And if you get in generally the right place, you don't have to be on the A, you're generally in the right place with some goose floaters, you're probably going to get a few cracks at them. And those poor things, there's the hunting pressure down there from upstaters has just gotten nuts over the last year. I've been going down there for 22 years. In the last few years, there's been more people down there hunting than I've seen ever before. And most of them are from, like, up here. Like, I'd be like, yo, didn't I see you at, like, you know, on Lake Ontario earlier this year? Yeah, man, I'm from so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, like, I totally know your truck. Like,
so what's funny is, like, I follow a lot of social media stuff, and, I mean, guys in Arkansas are just ate up with the fact that just people pile into Arkansas. But the funny thing is like, within the state of New York, right? Like, so the podcast covers like a giant geographic region, but within the state of New York, we have a hate on literally for people that like move within the state.
Yeah.
Almost,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
But I want to move. I want to move on to something else, and I'm gonna needle you guys a little bit. This is fun. I've been in Bard's barn, which is immaculate, and I've been in Frack's barn. Can you guys explain your different approaches to storing and transporting decoys? Because I find this one super.
Wait,
fun.
I have a question for Brett.
But keep it. Make sure the listeners can understand how different you guys are for how you take care of your shit.
Do you have any kind of system? Like, that's the big question. Like,
That's Bard saying to Frack, you have any kind of system.
Like, I'll be honest and say, like, I have severe
You guys
OCD.
roll. I'm gonna grab beers.
Like, I have an OCD issue. Everything has to be super organized, labeled. I have mallards for this situation, with different length, like they're in different weights, like different lines, different length weights. And then you just have shit piled up in your boat, which I've never seen the floor of. I don't know.
But everything you need is in there. Everything you need is in there. So, I mean, if you need a bow fishing rig, if you need a case of sardines, if you need a head of raw cabbage, if you need some spare 1-inch trot line clips, if you need some 5-pound long line anchors, it's all in there.
Let's talk about your goggles.
If you need goggles to rescue your buddy whose boat breaks down in the middle of Lake Ontario
Touche.
in January, you're taking a lot of spray. You're out in 3-4 footers. You're taking a lot of spray over. It gets icy on the eyes. You need some ski goggles. So I think you should have some goggles in the boat. It just makes sense.
So I remember. Let me stop. Or you guys want to fight more?
I just want to say, I agree that the goggles are a good idea, but the fact that your goggles, which are some kind of dual lens with some kind of like air pocket in between the lenses, and there's maggots and stink bugs somehow inside those, that's got to blur your vision just a little bit. And that, I think, summarizes the ickiness, we'll call it, of your boat. I'm thankful that your boat is up and running and somehow you just trash the shit out of it constantly and it stays running. I do every single type of maintenance to my boat, keep it inside in a heated garage, and it just breaks down on me for ridiculous reasons. So we're hunt out of your boat more than I'd like to.
Hey, what's up? It's Wanda Sykes. I'm here to remind you about something super important, getting your breast screened. Because trust me, your breast health should be a priority. Early detection for breast cancer can change the game, which is why you should visit yourattentionplease.com to learn more. And do me a favor, if you've already had a breast cancer screening, remind your friends and family to visit yourattentionplease.com too. We gotta look out for our girls.
Pro tip for anybody at home, those little 1-inch trot line clips work great for long lines.
The biggest pieces of shit. And whoever makes them should be put down, and they should never be sold to anyone.
So I deeply appreciate both your approaches. I feel like I'm somewhere in between, honestly, to the point that when I actually give, we did our, so folks on the podcast probably know this, I also actually teach university courses and hang out with degenerates like this at the same time.
It's a good thing you started this after you got tenure.
Right. Oh shit, I'm fired now. But I don't even know where that was going. I'm gonna back out of that one.
I was concerned about, am I gonna have a job?
Am I gonna have a job after this? No. This was a fun thing that I wanted to do. People kept asking. We did a YouTube channel for years when we got the waterfowl migration research done, and that was enjoyable, but YouTube's kind of a pile in general, and was not happy with that, so wanted to kind of go as much independent as we can, so that we, kind of went with different platforms and such. But, and wanted to back out of it and do a better job with it, which I think we're at now. So let's go with all funny shit aside.
Oh boy, we're getting serious.
Yeah, we're gonna pull in some deep stuff here. You guys are like just good. I'm gonna boost your egos now, right? So
Thank you.
You are good duck hunters, and I deeply appreciate you guys as friends, neighbors, and each of you. I'm gonna go with kill over 100 ducks each year in the Atlantic Flyway, but they're putting thumbs up as higher, right? It's really not unheard of, but I don't think it's really common. So
Shit, we kill over 100 mergs each year.
100 We're gonna hit the merganser. We're gonna hit the merganser comment here in a little bit.
Not this year.
Not this year.
This is a bad Merg year. We're gonna have to really get on it.
It's because you're making.
They're not here, are they?
No, let's not talk about that. That's upsetting.
All right, so these guys are good at killing ducks. Let's just go with the Merg thing because you're in it. You're in it. You want to talk about? I've heard it like 3 times from you because you're like, I want to talk about mergansers on the podcast. So
I don't want to give away our secrets though.
I think the reality though is just neither of us. I think we both separately before we knew each other, a year or so before we met, came to the situation that we needed to start shooting mergs because it sucks to go out and not pull the trigger or shoot some stuff, and like there's plenty of mergansers around, or even and like there's plenty of mergansers around. So then you had to get though like creative on like, well, we can't just shoot these things and not do anything with them, so you had to find a use for them, which we've done all sorts of things. Like thankfully we know a lot of people. Frack particularly got us into some different studies. Thymine study, contaminant study. I knew some people that had exotic cats that were feeding their cats rabbits, and free duck meat, even if it is fishy smelling, was a welcome to them. So like we've been able to find stuff to do with them, and it's fun. Like
I haven't gotten you turned on to eating them yet, but
no,
you can eat them. They're not.
They're
not great. They're not this mallard that Schumer made. That's way better than Merg, but you can eat them.
It says not to.
He suggests not to.
I'm not spawning, so it doesn't matter.
But yeah, that is the controversy. Is like, but here's where I'm going to go with this real quick. Is that the limit got changed on them at some point by the Atlantic Flyway, right?
Ooh. I don't know if is it the Flyway or is it just New York, because it used to be a separate limit of 5.
PA still has bonus mergs,
but in PA you can still kill your 6 ducks plus 5 mergs.
So the question is, right? Like, is there? This will get me in trouble with people. I don't give 2 shits because I'm not the friend of the Flyway, or I like to. I shouldn't say it that way. I work with these folks. I like to say I'm not the darling of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service or the Atlantic Flyway because I push the question, right? So why was the limit reduced? It's not like we've got data that like hunters are causing massive issues. And what I've heard in back calls is that, well, nobody does anything with them anyway, so why should they shoot them? That's an ethical thing, right? Yeah. And at some point, like biologically, you should be like, hey, can that population sustain harvest? That's the job of the Flyway to a large degree. And so what you guys are doing is actually finding uses for them.
And I mean, I would argue though, like if you're eating scoter or long-tailed ducks,
it's all the same shit.
They're not. Yeah, they're not any better. They're not any better than Merg. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like you have to brine them, you have to smoke them, you have to do something, you have to grind them. You know, you have to do something with them. Right. You can't just throw them on the grill like these mallards. But you can. To me, an old squaw isn't any better than a Merg. You know, like flavor-wise, if you're eating.
Right. Neither is.
I have taste bud dead friends that just like grind them and make like. Yeah. Long-tailed duck tacos. Yeah, no. I think you know who you're talking about. Or who I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention his name here, but if he's listening, he knows who he is. But yeah.
I think you can mix, like, do the kind of 50-50, 60-40, like sausage Merg mix and put it in sausage and stuff like that. Like, that's what we do with Scoter, Old Squaw.
There is a disclaimer though on like.
Yeah, it says you're not supposed to eat them.
Like contaminant wise, right. But. It totally matters where they come from. They're at the top of the food chain for sure. But you don't know, like mallards that come from sewage lagoons, right? Could be full of too, right? Yeah. And you don't. I mean,
but the state's studying that. I'll be interested to see the results of this. We've donated a lot of different species to this to see what this next round of contaminant data shows. Because, like you said, that mallard you shoot on the marsh that you think is eating in a cornfield could have been off the wastewater treatment plant yesterday.
I'd rather shoot on some of our more contaminated lakes in New York a scaup that just came
From
out of Manitoba than a mallard that lived here all year.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. And you'd think the scaup would be more contaminated because it's higher on the food chain in general.
I think the Merg thing, though, for me, and I don't know, I won't answer for you, but like for me, I spent a lot of my waterfowling years after I really like committed to it, got into it. We shot video for years for different people. I have done dozens and dozens of rider hunts, a guide, and it got too serious for me, right? And like I took myself too serious. It got to be, I mean, I don't know how to do many other things, so I just go. And
you just go duck hunting. You just wake up at 4
yeah,
a.m.
like
or 3:30 and you just go duck hunting.
I have a limited amount of skill sets. And that's just one thing that I can do and I like to do, so I still go. But like there was a time where I was kind of like, man, I was really stressed out. You know, like it wasn't like it was a job for a lot of things, and like my son started hunting and I wanted him to have success, so we would like shoot anything, and like just having that experience and seeing him like just super excited and everything like that, like he didn't give a shit what we shot, you know, he was just happy pulling the trigger. So I think that was like a little rejuvenation for me. And then I met him like a year later and he's like, oh, I shoot Mergs. Like, and I'm like, dude, I got my own customs decoy.
So here's the thing now, like, yeah, you guys have custom decoys, right?
Yeah.
And you literally, so Bard has custom decoys. Are they hand carved or who made those? And you have Frack has a
some of mine are hand carved.
Frack has a Merg sticker on the back of his truck. Like most people have like the "Do you duck" sticker or some other things. You have a Merg sticker.
Well, that's kind of how I was slightly different. I was never, that into it. But we had a good group of buddies growing up. My little brother, he's a lot younger than me. So when he was in high school, one of his friends, I'll give a shout out to P-Dog. That was his rapper name. So he goes by P-Dog. He was the one that got us into Mergs. Because
wait. You have a rapper duck hunting friend?
Yes.
Okay. We're going that.
I don't think he's put out any albums in a while, but we can catch up. But he, for some reason, that kid could not miss a Merg. So we took him on youth hunts. So 12 through 16, we're taking him out all the time. He could not hit a duck. Like you'd have a mallard, a pintail at 10 yards, back flapping, toenails on the water. He would dump his gun and not hit it. I've seen that kid roll out a red-breasted Merg just screaming 50 yards by, no intention of decoying, just stones it.
So he shoots 3 feet in front of everything.
For some reason, he cannot miss a merganser. So it just became a thing, and that's kind of how we got into it. And also, I think it was kind of something different. It's like not that many people go after like coots or gallinules or Mergs. It was something different and kind of fun and kind of like quirky. People give you shit for it, so we just kind of owned it. It was fun.
Well, it's like you could be out there by yourself. People make fun of me. I'm like the one of 5 gallinule hunters in the state.
Yeah.
But I literally put like a one-man kayak in the marsh and I push pole around and I shoot them with like an over under 20 gauge. Yeah. But the point is like there's no one else doing it. Yeah. Like it's a free moment.
But it's fun. You're out in the marsh. You're seeing really cool stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of how we got into it. And then when we started hanging out with him, and he was like, "Oh, I shoot Mergs," and we're like, "Oh." And then
here's the deal. Fuck it. I'm still gonna judge you.
We're having a good time. We're having a good time. Yeah. They're not going to waste. Yeah. So judge all you want. Yeah. But like, have you ever seen a Merg Superman? Like, it's amazing. Yeah. Like the way they'll decoy and how high they'll decoy from. It's very canish.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever seen a can decoy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of similarities. And it's pretty radical if you have a good spread and you know what you're doing and you know where they're feeding and you can get on that X. It's pretty awesome.
So are you saying, Mike Bard, that
I like how
a can is just a merganser that learned to eat wild celery
and taste better?
Probably not.
I think they came from the same place. At least
most birds did come from
whoever
the same
taught them to fly taught them to fly the same way.
If you're running a mallard spread or something, sometimes the mergs will tip in, sometimes they'll land. But if you're running a good merg spread and you get mergs, they might be 100 yards up and they see those decoys, it's almost like a peregrine. They lock their wings and they just drop. Like, it's pretty freaking cool.
So here's,
you almost have to shoot
I
them so
almost
they don't
want to
crash.
go with you just
to see it. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But one of the things I want to get to is like, and some people don't understand this, is so the HIP thing, right? Harvest Information Program, everybody has to have that to hunt ducks. You know where I'm going with this, Bart. I can see this. So there's a harvest diary that keeps track of how many ducks you shoot, right? And some people get that from the Harvest Information Program. That just keeps track of how many ducks you shoot because they don't trust you to be able to identify what species, sex, or age you shot, which goes into that big database for Fish and Wildlife Service. But then everybody sends wings in. Is a group of people send wings in, of which you guys were part of.
I think we should.
For a few years.
No comment.
You won the Merg Award because one year you guys were both in it, and you sent so many Merg wings in that New York won the Merganser Award because
not even for the U.S. What I was really proud of, we beat the Newfies. Those guys crushed
The
Mergs.
Newfies,
Those guys crushed Mergs,
to
and we
shoot
smoked them. That was when I really felt like we made
There
it.
are people. We feel like we may have descended from Newfoundland. Like we may have come.
Yeah.
You think you've come from Newfies, Mike? Yes.
Yeah, we must be. Because that was like, I knew we won the Atlantic Flyway. So when we made the first version of the Merg belts, that was Atlantic Flyway Merg champion. And then when the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Report came out, we won North America. For all I know, we won the world. You know what I mean? Like who?
But how many
more
did you
Mergs
send
than us?
in? Like 24, 25, or wings? Oh
Hundreds.
shit, hundreds.
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
So we keep track of our Mergs. It's kind of like a friendly point of contention between us. It is kind of serious. But
Matt, you do realize when you were like, why didn't I get envelopes this year? They didn't send them to me this year. It was probably because of the Merg.
Well, I thought I was dead from mercury poisoning.
Right? Like we need ducks we actually typically track.
The last couple years, so our group of friends keeps track of our Merg harvest. And the last couple years, the top person has been in the 120 to 130 Merg range.
Wow.
For the season.
Wow.
So when we were both submitting wings for the Wing Bee, that's what propelled New York to its place of glory.
Yeah,
Place of glory. I love
because I feel like that year you actually were higher than that and beat me by like 23 or something like that. It was. I tried really hard in Long Island to make a comeback, but he was with me, so it didn't work out. But
So there's a strict set of rules for this. We actually have an
it's called
arbiter.
merging.
So we have legal counsel that is weighed in on this. We have our arbiter that settles disputes. It's pretty much like the Olympics. We kind of have the IOC for merganser hunting. Yeah, it's legit.
Wow. He lives in Rochester.
Yes. Will not speak his name, but
I deeply appreciate your.
The belt though it's actually displayed in my shop, but it's
Your
wrapped.
belt buckle is gorgeous, by the way. It is gorgeous. So.
Well, the World Championship belt is made out of roof tin and some other bedazzling stuff that the arbiter guy's daughter helped make. But it's
like a WWE style belt. It's a full size.
Oh, it's bigger than
it's gigantic. Yeah.
The ones that I had made are like those are for formal events.
Formal, yes.
Yeah, that's formal wear.
I've seen them out as formal wear at like
you get a DU event.
DU events.
You're getting your lifetime sponsor award. You need to look legit.
You need to look legitimate with your.
You need a 6-inch Merg on your
6-inch Merg on your junk.
Yeah, exactly.
The best part about it though is you had it built with the bottle openers in it, so like you can open people's bottles on your belt buckle.
Wow. Yeah. All right, we're gonna roll back.
The fun Mergs.
Let's talk about. Actually, I haven't asked this, have I? Too much? I asked if the weather changed a bit, but let's go with kind of hitting on weather and staying with the weather theme for the Foul Weather podcast. Your like favorite kind of weather to hunt in, and then I'll go with Bard first because Frack's better, so he gets the follow up. But kind of favorite weather to hunt in, and like a memorable hunt with like classic weather, like kind of a two-pronged question.
Yeah, I like, you got to have wind, so 10, 12, 15 mile an hour, no more, no less, like somewhere in that 5 mile an hour range. Clear skies, sunny, like I like that. That's my jam. Because one, I wore glasses for the majority of my life until a month and a half ago when I had LASIK surgery. So if it rains, you should
It's horrible.
Like,
glasses.
you get water droplets. Like if it's too cold and you're trying to wear like a face mask or something, your glasses fog up.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff sucks.
Yeah.
So like
I'm a classic person that says, like, everybody's like, oh, it's gonna rain, I want to duck hunt because it's duck weather. I'm like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I do not. If I never hunted once again in the fucking rain, I'd be a super happy man.
Same.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm getting over that a little bit though. Like, we were hunting in the rain a few times recently, and it hasn't been as bad without glasses. But I think the most memorable hunt I have is actually like the last hunt I had with my first Chesapeake Bay Retriever. She was on the outs. She had cancer really bad, and we wanted to bring her for one more hunt. And it was at the end of the season, just Ron Zaga and I. No one else wanted to go, just the two of us. We're going to take her out. We had really low expectations, and we shot a 2-man limit. And it was like that perfect south wind for them because they were heading back north. But south wind, about 12 mile hours, perfectly sunny, and every group just did it perfect and came in. And my poor dog, she was the one hell of a last hunt. She had 50 retrieves, and but it was like, I'll never forget that. It was amazing, and like I can't. Frack is better at IDing birds on the wing than I am. I feel like I'm pretty good, but he's exceptional, and I can't do it very well on low light like days. So that sun helps me ID things. I feel more confident when I'm pulling the trigger, so I think I shoot better. Not because I see the duck better, but I'm more confident in what I'm shooting.
Yeah.
So I think that just helps me from that perspective too. And you need a little bit of wind to get them to come in the way you want them to, and have, you're shooting more decoying birds, I think, versus flybys. So that's.
I think they see everything, like most of those like broken cloud. Like I like the 50%, like maybe 24% cloud, anywhere between 10 and 20 mile an hour wind type stuff. Decoys are moving. They can see your decoy. I think on cloudy days they can't see shit either. Half the time,
Yeah, I think visibility is super important, and it is weird that you would think like, why don't they see them? Like, but they really don't. Like we've hunted just recently, and like the first hour and a half it was really overcast, and the sun came out. And it was like game changer. Like all of a sudden everything was coming, and like we didn't see any more ducks, any less ducks. Like the wind didn't pick up or anything. It was just all of a sudden like birds all of a sudden saw us.
And it varies where you're at, but all the Great Lakes hunters, like I'm saying Erie, Ontario, like marsh hunters are like, we want sunny skies. As soon as the sun breaks, the ducks just bomb in because they feel like they are comfortable and can see what's going on. I'm not sure, but it seems like, I think the whole idea of like ducks like shitty weather, and so you should shoot ducks in shitty weather. It's just not a thing that I've ever experienced. So, but
I agree. You gotta have
wind.
Frack.
Go ahead.
Gotta have wind, but I like those cold, shitty days just because it's not necessarily that the ducks are maybe decoying any better, but I just feel like I'm earning it more. And I'm kind of that idiot that's like, this is fun. I'm out in the middle of a gale. I can't see anything. It's a blizzard. And I don't know. I've had some memorable hunts doing that.
Matt wants to say something.
It can go wrong.
Sorry, Bard wants to say something at Frack here. So what do you got?
The earning it thing. He will leave his fucking waders in his truck. Like, we'll go hunt. We get done hunting. He throws his wet waders, his wet jacket, because he always goes in over the bottom of the jacket. It's always wet. Throws it in the backseat of his truck. It stays there overnight in the freezing cold till the next morning when we go hunting again. Whereas mine go inside, get hung up, put on boot dryers. I'm like getting it. He's just like, Dude, you're
soft.
soft. Yeah.
You're comfortable. Is what
I'm like, dude, I'm smart. Like, you're the idiot. That's just like you're earning it by getting up and doing all the stuff you do. You don't have to make yourself miserable at the same time by wearing all this wet, cold shit. But
You guys go out and more stuff than I do. I mean, I'm showing you. Oh, actually, I don't have them, but I'm wearing my Crocs in the kitchen now. But I have like LL Bean slippers that I actually wear throughout the house because we have tile floors at the farm, and then like I put them on the front room, and then I put boots on to go hunt. Like if I go deer hunt and I come in and I literally like change my clothes on the front porch because they're my deer clothes, and then but I actually walk in, I put my slippers back on. I mean, like I've gotten old and soft, right? Like there's a period in your life where you're gonna pay for this frack.
I keep telling him that.
I might, but I feel like if I stop doing it, you're not going to start again. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like I got to keep doing it
But
because
fucking slippers are nice, dude. It's good.
I don't know. I feel like I got to keep doing it because if I stop, I don't think you're going back. If you stop going in swimming for ducks over your waders and stuff, that doesn't make it easier.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying I wouldn't or don't do that. Usually it's unintentional when I go over my waders, but it seems to happen more than I'd like to admit. But like,
or you don't zip your waders up and then wade down the what?
Whatever.
Well, he had zipper waders.
Explain this because you're
so yeah, zip waders are awesome because you can easily pee like with them. But when someone's like, "Oh, there's ducks coming," and like you're trying to pee, and then you're trying to also get back to get in on the action, and you don't zip your waders back up, and then walk through the water, and all the water goes in your waders. Not cool. It happens to me frequently. I don't know why.
I was going with the other thing of like just start zipping up before you're done, which is also problematic. But
that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So keep dreaming.
Someday. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be a problem for me.
I feel like there's a small penis coming.
It's cold. It's cold.
So most memorable, and you've been in some I've heard super like shit, like almost died type thing. So let's not tell viewers about that because that might justify some of your behavior. But some of the coolest, the coolest hunt you've been in weather-wise that you can run.
Today, the beverage aisle looks a lot different than it used to. America's beverage companies are working together. We're delivering the options everyone wants. In fact, nearly 60% of beverages Americans buy have zero sugar. You'll find more variety than ever, including more of your favorites, now available with zero sugar. You'll also find more sizes and clear calorie information on the front of every can, bottle, and pack. We know when it comes to finding balance, the more choices, the better.
A couple. So my little brother and one of his friends and I had them walk the shore. I took the boat. Stuff was icing up, so I took a canoe. I wore a float coat in case I broke through, and I had ice picks for dragging the canoe over the ice. I had them walk the shore because I didn't want them to go through. And took the boat, and when the ice would get too thin, the boat would go through. I would just lay in the canoe, get the ice picks out, pull myself back up on the ice, keep going. Did that for a couple miles to get to a hole of open water. Had an absolutely phenomenal hunt.
So this is like going in.
Yeah, going in the morning.
Oh, this isn't coming out. I felt
no,
this
is
like
going
coming
in.
out.
No. Actually, it was cold, so going in, the lake froze, and we could just walk the ice all the way back, which is way better. Going in, it was like skim ice that wasn't thick enough to walk on, so you had to take the boat so that when you fell through, you could put your chest on the boat.
So I want you to understand, like, some of the listeners are like Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas. Like, they get ice, but they don't get New York ice.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but that's what I had to do to get to the open water. We got to the open water, had an awesome shoot, shot a full 3-man limit, picking drakes out. The boys killed their first band, shot some really cool ducks, a couple that are on my wall. And it was just one of those things where like you're sitting there, you're in a gale, it's nasty weather, you physically worked really hard to get there.
What time of year?
I'm sure it was January, I don't remember. It was when we still had
like wind, snow.
Yeah, wind, snow, just nasty. And it was probably, I don't know, 20 degrees because it froze over the course of time that we were hunting. It froze enough that on the way back you could walk the ice without falling through.
Yeah, I love those.
I mean, stupid, like admittedly stupid, but
to even go in.
Yeah, but
but
I had the right gear.
Yeah.
I had the kids be safer than me, But I had to get our gear and decoys in the boat down there so we could recover birds. But Bard saw that. We did an ice hunt, and you were, I wouldn't say you were impressed with my ice skills, but
no, I was actually
something.
like, I'd never seen ice picks before, but I was impressed that you just rolled in with the survival suit, like on Deadliest Catch, and like, I'm glad he's here.
So you get it done.
I would not be out there.
So
that.
I'm definitely the work harder, not smarter kind of guy.
Oh,
I'm not that smart.
That's
I'm an
where
idiot.
at.
But it's like if there's ducks there, I'll get to them.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm not going to be able to do that, but for now, that's why I got to keep wearing wet waders.
Just wear a wetsuit. Just wear a wetsuit. Call it good.
Well, you do spend like the majority of your work in a wetsuit in cold water, so I mean, maybe it's just you're more comfortable with it than I am. I don't like it. I spent too many nights sleeping in holes and back of trucks and whatever in the military to do it on my recreation time now.
I always wanted, I haven't done it, but I always wanted to just like on the opening day of the second split, go to like one of the super crowded boat launches around here with a backpack full of decoys and my fins and a wetsuit and just walk down the ramp out in the water and just start finning out with a wetsuit. But I'm sure I'd get run over by somebody in a duck boat, but I thought that would get me some good looks at the boat launch.
I'm pretty sure that there's better ways to do that. So. I did ask you guys about kind of weather changes that affect duck migration in your years, but like, Bard, like just a reflection on over all your years, and you've been in New York most of the time, all the time?
A large percent of my hunting is in New York, but I guided in Missouri for a bit. I've hunted in Ontario a lot with some friends of mine who own a guide service, and for years, like 15, 16 years now. And
but your sense overall of like, because foul weather podcast stuff. Like, the question always is, has it changed? And we're gonna get different answers on this when we talk to people across the country.
Yeah, so it's changed for sure because my friends in Ontario, up just south of Lake, they're just off Lake Huron, and we would go up. And for, I don't know, 10, 12 years that I was going up there, we would be snowed out by like the second week in November every year. They just wouldn't take any more hunters because there was enough snow where everything would push through.
So what years are we talking about then?
Up like, so 2007, 8.
Oh, that's that recent.
Yeah. 2007,
okay.
8 through 2018, 2019, just before COVID.
Okay.
Maybe 2017, I guess, because it was a couple years before COVID. Every year, the mallards would come through the second and third week of October, like clockwork. We would shoot Canada geese and have some really good woody hunts, maybe shoot a few mallards, all dry field hunting in that first 2 weeks, because they start the last week of September, and that so for 2 weeks it was Canada geese, woodies, some mallards, and then you got to that second and third week of October, and just mallards were coming,
tons of mallards,
and then
so that's Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario, and then you would still have mallards and geese in that like Halloween time in the first week of November. Second week in November, things were starting to get dicey. It was kind of like here in our old late season where conditions were tough, but if you found birds, they were very concentrated, so you could really hammer them. Yeah. And then third, fourth week in November, they're snowmobiling. You know what I mean? Right. So we've gone from that to now they still have all their hunters come in that same time period, and it's Canada geese that whole time, maybe a trickle of mallards here and there. And their hunters are done coming, and they're fun hunting in November into now in December, and they're up there sending me pictures every night. Like they're working their regular jobs back again, and they get out and go for the last 2 hours and are shooting 6 mallards each because that's what their limit is. Yeah.
like 2 or 3 of them go out. They're not even scouting. They're just showing up in a field and shooting 6 mallards each, and it's 5 weeks, 6 weeks after what they normally were doing.
Yeah, this is like back home. I'm from Western New York originally, and I've traveled all over the country and such. But I mean, Thanksgiving we were always shooting deer in the snow. Frack's gonna say, and you're from here.
Yeah.
You're from Central. Like I'm from. So if people know growing zones, like this is growing zone 6, and where I'm from in the Allegheny Plateau originally is growing zone 4, which means our springs come later and our falls come earlier. And I remember, I mean, shooting deer, like just literally walking deer up out of deer yards with knee-deep snow during regular deer season. Yeah. And
I used to wear snow camo opening day.
Super far from that now. Like, anyhow, I don't want to, I think our lives are a little too short for this to understand all of it, but it just feels like it's definitely changed in our time. So, Frack,
I agree 100%. And that, you know, I talked to my grandpa. He was a big duck hunter here, you know, in the same area. And he said, you know, by November, those Finger Lakes, like not maybe the middle, but the north ends were freezing up. So like, you know, that's when they were doing their diver hunting was October, November. And by then it was ice, and it was ice until March, April, May. You know, it didn't like, now you might get ice for 2 or 3 days and then it's 60. And then, you know, it's just yo-yoing back and forth. Yeah. So I didn't ice fish last year. It's the first year of my life I didn't ice fish. And I could have if I traveled, but like all the lakes that I grew up fishing around here, we never had safe ice. So.
We went over like the, you know, we're sitting at this table is 2.5 feet wide. We went over breaks like that in the ice with a snowmobile to get to spots to ice fish last year. Yeah. And I was like, there were friends that knew what they were doing, but it's kind of super sketchy shit. Right? Yeah. So I'm a little worried about this year, like strong El Nino year. Yeah. Like we might be in one of the warmest winters that we've seen in a long time. But, you know, and by the way, we do have cold weather coming next week, so we should be
great,
like freezing weather.
Good.
For a bit. So
and then our season ends.
That's
one of my beefs with
the end of our season.
Yeah, that's one of my beefs with the season moving up is that now it's like we have warm weather, we have warmer weather, and so now the season's moving up and it's warmer. So I feel like you're not getting those. I feel like our early ducks are gone. What we're hunting right now, for the most part, are kind of stale. We're getting a few little pushes of birds in, but it's not, you know. I think that cold will help, but
I feel like
it's a very I feel like a state like New York, like Kansas is in this. There's other states that are in this too. It's so hard to set the season because you could hunt ducks from September. We don't even open in September, but we could hunt ducks from September to the end of January. And you have 60 days. Yeah. So there is no, like, I give the state of New York and the people that manage this a ton of credit in any state that manages this type of stuff, because it is super hard to manage. Like, what are the best ways to assess that and determine how you best serve your hunters? That's kind of up to them. I'm not going to touch all that right now, but it's not easy. So, like, for all the people, like, you guys have complaints, I have complaints. Right? Everybody has complaints about the season because it doesn't fit what they want. When you have 60 days to put in a place where you could shoot ducks for over 100 days in any one location, I don't want that job. Right? So I hear what you guys are saying. There's a bunch of people that are like, I'm a marsh hunter, so I'm like, December. I want December. Like when the river floods and the birds are moving type thing. But yeah. Barb, your trip to shoot the elusive. It's Frack's trip too.
Frack's going too.
Okay. The elusive. What is it called now?
Mexican mallard.
The Mexican mallard. Yeah. Tell us about it.
It sounds made up, right?
It does. It's super fucking made up. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Well,
it's a thing. Why is it a thing now?
I don't know. I don't know why it's a thing. I just know that I was challenged by a friend who is a collector, and I put a great effort into going and all over the U.S. I've tried to do it in the U.S. To shoot the,
So you have every species other than this one right now.
Yeah, I was lucky. I got drawn for an emperor tag a couple years ago. I went up and Frack came with me. I got to shoot an emperor goose, which was added after the 41, so it became like, in my opinion, the 42nd.
So this is the 43rd.
So now there's a 43rd. Like I don't feel like there's not one organization out there that's like tracking this. But I can honestly say that Field and Stream sent 2 auditors to my house, and they went through all of my journals, photographs, and everything, and audited the fact that I had shot these 41 species. And so I feel good to say, like, hey, I did this. And then after that,
sweet,
the emperor goose became available. I applied for the permit. I drew it, was able to harvest one. And now, in just hunting with friends, a friend of mine who is a collector and very just very into the scene was like, hey, did you see this new species that was deemed the Mexican mallard? It's, it comes up from Mexico into Arizona. Looks a lot like a black duck or a mottled duck to me. So I think it's just at some point in time, they just stopped really migrating like everybody else and found a home in this general region. And over time mutated into their own species because their DNA is different. They look just like a mottled duck to me.
It's genetically is how they've been vetted to say they're different.
Their DNA is different enough from a mallard, different enough from a mottled duck, different enough from a black duck to be its own species. And
got it.
2 years ago, according to the articles I've read, I'm not a biologist. 2 years ago, it was deemed a new species based on the DNA. So kind of some friends of mine threw some shade at me saying, well, you don't have this anymore. You need to go get this duck. So a different...
So you were duckless.
Yeah, so I felt like I can't say that anymore.
You lost the Merg belt.
I lost the Merg belt to Frack. I lost my claim to fame. And all of a sudden, now I need to go do this. So we've...
Cool.
Through someone else we know, they had been once before last year with a guide down there and was successful. So he kind of turned us on to this guide, and we're going to go down and Saturday and give it a shot for 4 days, and hopefully we get lucky.
Sounds awesome.
Find some desert mergs.
Yeah.
Desert mergs. Should crack that second beer, Bard.
Oh boy.
Because we're gonna hang out after. There you go. Get that on. I got some big picture stuff, but I'm just going to leave it with this, I think, because I'm not going to throw the public lands people under the bus unless you want to talk public land stuff. We'll do that another time. We'll do that next year. I'm going to bring you guys back next year and just chat about potentially decline of interest in duck hunting and the decline of interest in public lands, wildlife biologists, and land managers that manage those lands for duck hunters. But I'll leave it. I don't want to touch it this year.
I got a question, though. I got a question for you.
So are we going to hear about... We're going to do this. Okay, go.
All right, it's a quick one. I just want your opinion. I see, like, you read, in the most recent Delta, there's talk about how hunter numbers declined in Ontario, in New York, in, the U.S. in general.
Right.
From my perspective, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like there's more competition. So I don't know if there's less people, but the people are going way more.
Yep.
So it's like there's way less people buying duck stamps. There's way less people going, but there's more people on the march.
That is fucking great, because I think that is something we need to actually understand, is how that type of thing, like, we have less people, but they're going more, and there's less places for them to go, so everybody's concentrated. It used to be, you talk to some guys around here in like the heyday of duck hunting, and everybody would be like, you'd be shoulder to shoulder on opening day. You can see the old comics of that. But then after that, nobody went. It was like opening day of deer season when everybody went out, right? Yeah. So it was a cultural thing that, this is my assessment, it was a cultural thing that people went. But it wasn't, I don't want to use the word obsession, but it wasn't a thing where like you just went every day and every day and every day and every day. People didn't have that time. You worked in a factory. You were a school teacher. You were, a taxi cab driver. Whatever the hell you were, you had to do it 5 days a week. It wasn't like we all three of us have time to find a way to go on Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, right? That wasn't a thing. And so I think what's really interesting is if no one's actually, I don't think, cataloged that kind of change at all, like to understand what that is and what that was. So yeah, but I think that's a huge portion of it. I think
that might be an impediment to recruiting new hunters because it's hard to, like, I took a kid out today that I've taken from a youth hunter. He's not a youth hunter anymore, but his family doesn't really hunt, so I try to get him out when I can. And it was a really slow day. You know, he got one opportunity and missed. But I would say, like, if I'm a new hunter and I'm just trying to start out, where are you going to go to have a good hunt right now? You can't. You know what I mean? The hunting sucks. Like, I say in general, like there's still some good days, but in general, if you were just trying to start out, like if you have a student that moves here from Maryland, wherever, and is like, I want a duck hunt, where are they going to go? It's pretty crappy. So I feel like it's where it's almost an impediment to. I know we're trying to get new hunters, but it's almost like there's too many hunters as it is hunting. I shouldn't say too many hunters, but there's too much pressure on a limited space. There's not spots for everybody to go and still have a good hunt. I don't know what the answer is.
So
I'm part of the problem. I'm going every day. So
Frack just turned around. He finally sat up from his chair a little bit, and he's wearing wolf pants. So
distracted you.
He distracted me with his wolf pants because he thought we were doing a video of this.
You had to look like a merganser enthusiast. This is the outfit of a merganser enthusiast.
But I don't know the answer to all of that, Frack, but my sense is that one of the things that we do not tend to do, I'm afraid of, like, government control at all, like any type of regulation. But when we get into a situation where we just have, like, constantly people, there are hunt management strategies all over North America that do manage those things, and everybody does it differently. Like, I think one of the coolest things that I'd like to do as a research outfit at the university I work for is have a student collect all of the data on, like, what are all of the different hunt management strategies, and then ask the practitioners, why do they have them? Most of them are just going to say, oh, it's because it's what we always did.
Right.
And there's no reaction to any kind of data that says whether it's helpful or not for hunters. And so I don't know where I'm going with that other than, like, it's a difficult situation we're in right now because I feel like people are going more. There's very little management of it, and we're not actually collecting all the data that we could. Like, you look across all of North America, and this kind of comment that you're saying it's happening everywhere. I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't live in Arkansas, but it sounds like people show up on Wednesday to hunt on Saturday at a boat launch. Yeah. And a guy will show up at like 4:00 on Wednesday, and he's the 75th boat in line. Like, fuck that. Who wants to do that? Yeah. That is not recruiting hunters. Yeah. There is a better way to do that. So I'm not going to get into like we scratch the surface of this. Like, the point is there's a better way to do that, right? I don't know what it is. I don't want to be restrictive. I want things to be open, but it doesn't feel like that's a thing that is possible either. So
the other side, like the other thing there, because I agree 100% with Frack, that I think we see the same people out there all the time. Like, we know their boats, we know their trucks, see the same guys. And I do research for a living too, and but I do it for, like, the evil empire of corporate America. So I look at this.
You just got fired.
Yeah, well, they can't fire me. I'm tenured too. But just kidding.
So you can get fired.
I don't know if I can get fired, but either way, I understand that the state looks at things from how many licenses can we sell, because that's more revenue for us. However, selfishly, as someone who hunts 85 days a year for ducks and geese, and I see all these other same guys out there who are hunting a large number of days, when I take that survey at the end of the year to ask me about what I think of the seasons and stuff, somebody who hunts 2 days
gets the same voice as I do as someone who hunts 80 plus days, why aren't we weighting that data based on the volume of hunts that, or the amount I'm participating? Because I think my voice should be louder.
In New York, it is. That survey asked you how many days you hunt, like how avid you are. Your weight, that is actually, in New York, it's weighted as far as I'm aware. I don't know if that's true everywhere, but it's definitely weighted in New York. Yeah. That's actually included. I think you're asked that question, like how many days a year do you?
Yeah, but I think it's not a how many days it hunts. It's like, did you hunt 1 to 4 days, 5 to 10 days, and then 15 plus. They don't take insane jack wagons like us in account who hunt.
You just said insane jack wagons.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
okay.
But like I think there's like Frack said, I think there's more of this insane jackwagon group of guys out there who are hunting like just an insane number of times. Because we have addiction issues or something, and that's how we get through it. It's better than Oxy. I
think I just get fired.
Why is Purdue a sponsor? I think they went bankrupt. But anyway.
Holy shit! We gotta delete this.
Anyway, no, I feel like that needs to be factored in, and that probably doesn't help with recruitment of new hunters. But as someone who does hunt a lot, I spend a lot of money on ammunition, on boats, on registrations of things, of there's fees for everything everywhere, or just gear. And like, I know there's taxation on stuff that's supposed to go back into, conservation and things like that, especially.
Well, it does. It's earmarked.
I'm skeptical. It's government. Like,
it does.
I worked for the government for a while. I'm skeptical. But like, so I'm like, well, I must spend infinitely more money than someone who hunts opening weekend or whatever, or 2 openers or something like that. So I just feel strongly that like that should be taken into it. And if it is, great. I was not aware of that in New York State, but it definitely should be.
I think you click some button that it might be as broad as you said, but
it's also hard to bring new people in. Like, I legit had a lady ask me to hunt today, and I didn't take her because I'm like, she's never duck hunted before. This would have been her first duck hunt, and the hunt I did today, you're standing over your waist in cold water for 4 hours. And I didn't know that we were going to even see birds. So I'm like, this is not a good first experience for someone. If you're trying to give a good, positive first experience, this is
why I don't hunt with you.
So,
this is why I don't, because you know me, I'm like, I didn't see a bird by 9 o'clock and my left toe is slightly cold and my dog looked sideways at me. I'm like, fuck this, I'm going home. No, like, I'm not, it's not like I don't hunt and I don't kill birds. You guys know that. But I don't do the hardcore thing you guys do either. So I deeply appreciate it. It's like, I'm kind of a tweener because I also have a life beyond duck hunting, which you guys, we don't.
I'm not proud to say that, but I really don't. I don't know what to do.
So this is question 11. I don't even know what question we're on now, but I actually had a script here of which I love this. This was cool.
We messed that up.
This was you guys. This is great. Yeah. This is what Kitchen Conversations is meant to be. Like as I said, when you guys first came in, we should have just had like a hot mic to catch all that fun stuff in the first place. We definitely got fired. So, well, I covered sky busting. You guys listened to that? I didn't get fired from that one, so we should be.
Not yet.
So Frack, because I like him more than Bard. Anything you want to tell the kids in Duck Country, USA? Like the final comment here for you for the year. You're not coming. I'm not letting you guys back for another year. So, what's the final comment on how to?
Don't start chasing mergansers.
Don't start chasing mergansers.
No, it's hard, man. I honestly, I don't know. We talked about it a little bit with recruitment, but like, if I was a young kid, like when I started duck hunting, I was in high school. My buddies and I would go out. We had hand-me-down decoys. We couldn't call. We went to the same spots because it was what we had. But we were able to kill ducks, and that kind of got me hooked. And so then that launched me down this rabbit hole of sitting in your kitchen in wolf pants, talking about shooting hundreds of mergansers. But I
love that comment. Like, literally the only reason I'm sitting in your kitchen in Wolfpan in Jack's Reef, New York, is because of those moments.
But we were able to. But being as woodchucky as we were, not knowing anything, having
wait,
we were
stop.
able to
I
kill
have to stop because woodchuck is not a common term, right? Woodchuck. Define woodchuck for the listenership.
I mean, if this was video, just look at me. But the guys you see at the boat launch in wolf pants and leaking waders with merganser decoys.
Like I've got guys I've met it down the road at Montezuma that literally like you're done on opening day, and they show up because they were hungover from the night before.
Yeah,
you're not quite that woodchucky, but they bring like a white bucket with blue jeans and they sit on the shore with like a flannel shirt.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're hunting ducks, and it's like 9:30, and we already all have our limits on opening day.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
a woodchuck.
That's a woodchuck. Yeah. Good. But as scrubby as we were still able to shoot ducks, and I don't think you could. I have infinitely better gear. I have a lot more experience.
Yeah.
I have a lot more, and I couldn't do if I was 16 now and just starting out. I don't know how you would get into it because there's just no. Those ducks aren't there. The weather's not good. Whatever it is, blame it on whatever you want. But I feel like there's just not that. And there's so many other things for kids to do that if you go out a time or two and have a shitty hunt, it's like.
Really appreciate that you take a ton of people each year, right? And not everybody does that. So appreciate that about getting people in.
It's fun. It's nice to get. At this point, I'm pretty lucky. I've shot a ton of ducks, and don't get me wrong, I still love shooting ducks. I still want to, but it's more fun for if you're taking a first time person, seeing how excited a kid gets on youth day, shooting their first hen mallard. That means more to them than it does to me. I have more fun watching them shoot that duck than for me to shoot it or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is.
And if you could go back and have seen me shoot 2 boxes of shells on a single day and then finally kill a hen mallard and see my face,
pumped.
It would be exactly what you're talking about, probably.
Yeah. I think it's the life cycle of a hunter, though, right? Like there's phases you go through as a hunter, and you're just at that phase. Like.
I kind of ebb and flow from them. Like last year, I could have cared less to kill a duck, but this year I'm like, I'm gonna fuck stuff up. And we killed Jaeger's got 75 retrieves, and that's not a typical thing for me. I'm usually I shoot like 20 birds, and I'm like, that's good. Like that sounds lame to a lot of the listenership, but I do a ton of other stuff, and I just don't find the time to cram in like you guys do. So
I would say we're probably not good role models in that.
No.
Not good role models.
Yeah, that's about all we do.
Well, here's the thing.
You definitely
are. Job wise. Oh, fuck you guys. Job wise. I mean, Frack, you work for an environmental consulting firm as a wildlife biologist, basically. I don't know your title. You have a great job. Mike Bard is VP of a marketing firm, so it's not like you guys are slouches, right? Like there's you got your shit going on. So,
I wouldn't go that far. Thank you, I guess.
Mike, you didn't say we had our shit together. You said you had shit going on. Meaning you're busy. Not that you're...
Mr. Bard, last comments on...
To the
like anything you can tell kids in Duck Country USA across the board.
Honestly...
Like good positive comment to end us. Yeah.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Have fun doing it. Honestly, like, I feel somewhat hypocritical saying this, but like, who cares? Like, how many ducks Frack shoots or you shoot?
Which we actually made a point of during this, actually,
right? Right. Like, who cares? Yeah. Who cares what's on social media? Go out, have a goal for your hunt,
Except to follow the podcast on social media. You should probably listen to that one.
I'm saying don't not listen to it. Don't not go enjoy the pictures of it, but don't let it like bother you like that. Oh, I didn't have a good hunt today. Or maybe I did. Maybe a good hunt for me is shooting my goal today is to go shoot a green-winged teal, and I scouted hard, and there's some teal over here, and I get one. That should be good enough for you. Or that, hey, my goal today is just to go hunt this new spot and learn like something about this new area.
Or the first time I had a dog, and I actually took my own dog that I trained, which literally was like a hand-me-down dog that actually retrieved its first goose. That was like probably, I have to pull a lot of brain cells back to the forward here, but that was probably one of my best days of my life, right? Yeah. Like those types of things.
Yeah.
So
I think it's especially now that the hunting isn't as maybe good as when we were younger and got into it. Even for me now, like I have to like we'll be like, oh, well, we hunt a lot. But like I go into it like, hey, today I would like to do X, and I try to make it reasonable. And if that happens, then awesome. I'm happy. We didn't shoot a limit of ducks. We didn't shoot half a limited duck. We might have only gotten one. So for my birthday, it was a couple weeks ago, I'm like, Frack, I don't care. The duck hunting has sucked lately. I want to go out and shoot a duck today. Don't care what it is, whatever. We were on a struggle bus, man, but we got one duck. We got one duck. And I was like,
you holding up a Drake Mallard and Frack's in the background.
And honestly, that took both of us to make that happen. Like, that was not easy. Like, it was like, yeah. But we got that sucker. And, like, that was, like, it made my day. Like, I was like, dude, like, that was my goal for the day. I wanted to, like, every year on my birthday, I like to try to get out and hunt. And I just want to shoot a duck. I love the duck hunt. I just want to go shoot a duck on my birthday, and we did it. I got to do it with a good friend. I made my day. Awesome. Like I was happy. So,
and that is totally anti to the thing that I always say, because my comment is because here is what I'll end this with, the total opposite of that, because this is the fun I like to have with people. The comment always is like, well, when hunters answer surveys, they're like, we just want to go hunting. We don't care if we kill a bird. And I'm like, okay, that's bullshit. Because if you went out with your grandson in the duck blind and you petted a wet dog and you had like eggs on the grill and you chatted with a son that you hadn't seen for a while and all the things that are like duck hunting in the duck blind, all the things we enjoy, you bullshitted, told, fun stories about Frack and fun stories about Bard. But at the end of the day, you killed a fuck ton of ducks and there was a giant pile of birds. Would you be unhappier? Never.
No.
So I always tell practitioners, I'm like, you should just aim for the frickin' sky. Don't ask people what they want. Yeah. Just do the fucking best you can every single goddamn day for them to shoot as many birds as possible, with the knowledge that it's unlikely that you're ever going to get there. Right? But they're always like, well, how many birds do you want to shoot to be happy? My answer is always like, I don't know, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to shoot ducks. Yeah. I don't go not to shoot ducks, but like, I've hunted a long time.
And you're not going to New York State. There. Yeah.
I've seen the changes over the last few years. It's hunting, not shooting. So you have to temper your expectations. I have kids. I take my kids out hunting. I take their friends out hunting. Yeah. Trying to like teach them that it's okay if your friends over here shot a limit today and we got skunked. Yeah. Like, that's okay. Like, what did we learn today? How can we improve next time? Like, let's take the positives out of it. Don't be like, well, on social media, like these guys had a pile picture and, we didn't even post it. Who gives a shit? Right. Like, I got nothing to prove to anybody anymore. Well, that's a lie. I need to get this Mexican Mallard. But but after that, I have nothing.
Small town.
But
right.
But like, I try not to let that stuff bother me, because like I said before, like, I was really honestly caught up in that kind of shit for years, and like I had to produce for a job I had, or my own sanity, or to
be like, you know, my dick's bigger than Frack's dick today because I got more than he did or whatever, like when we were competitors at the boat launch unknowingly. You know, but like, I don't know, maybe because I'm older now, maybe because I had kids and I took them out and, you know, tried to get them into it and their friends and everything. And I don't know, I just like to go have fun now.
Yeah.
You know, and we go out and we work hard.
So I think we can always, like, one of the things I think we can do is balance that comment, knowing that that exists, with the fact that the thing that we ignore is that when you shoot more ducks, it isn't worse. But this thing isn't bad. Like the idea of spending time and all that, none of that is bad. But I
just think we can't do that. We can't shoot that limit of ducks
always
every day.
Shoot the big limit every day.
So it's like, and we're gonna go because we're idiots and have nothing.
Well,
else to
the
do.
thing
So
is you never know when that's gonna happen too.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
some of those are awesome days when you have no expectations.
Were you guys there when
smash them?
Was it the day? Were you there when? No, you were there the day after. Like Sarah and I smashed ducks, right? And like we went in with like, I don't know, is there gonna be ice? You know, we went out to dinner the night before, and she's like, "Should I go?" I'm like, "I don't know. Yeah. Like maybe you should just go and see what it's gonna be like." And it turned out to be, you know, a fantastic day. And you can't always see that stuff coming. So like you guys have it right. That's why you kill a ton of birds, is because you just always go and you're okay swallowing the bad days. The Foul Weather podcast actually forecasts fresh ducks on good days. And so we try to tell people, like, this is the thing I find funny is like, for the people that are really busy, you know, that have schedules that are insane, that have a life, unlike what Wolfman Man over here has. But you know, like picking those days kind of matters. And like I've had people texting me like, "Did you go hunt XY marsh that we were killing birds in before that I met them?" And I'm like, "Fuck no, I'm not going." Like I know there's not birds there. I know there's no migration, so I'm not going to go. Yeah. So I feel like trying to, and it also takes the pressure off the birds a little, right? Like if they're not doing it anyway, and there's not new fresh birds, like why crush them all the time type thing. So
we got to get you into merg hunting.
Got to get into merg hunting.
We got to get you out there.
Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can bite it.
We'll have to do that. Bring this. We'll get him. We'll have to bring the podcast to the boat.
Dude, we could do an in the marsh. We can do an in the marsh, because in the marsh thing, like, which I've only done, and it does great. Like we shot birds, we shot gadwall and stuff at Winus, and you guys will hear it on there. It's like it's a kind of like, you have to do like the banter back and forth in the boat or in the blind, and then there's a little bit of shooting, and then there's talking, and but it's realistic. Like, hey, shut the fuck up. There's birds now. Like, and somebody starts calling, and it's kind of the sound quality is actually pretty good. Mike Bard, Matt Frackleton. Holy shit! I really appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks for dinner, man.
There's no food left for me, I don't think. So
great dinner. Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you guys for being part of the podcast and part of the kitchen conversations. I think we're gonna actually let this run and maybe not delete it. So.
Thanks. It was fun. Thanks for dinner.
Our conversation.